Good morning, basketball world. This is the Around the Association podcast for Friday, let's say November 21st, 2019. I'm your host, Danny Thompson, checking in with you live here on Spotify, as well as check us out on every 22nd, and then check us out on every single social media, podcast platform, which includes Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes, our good friends at Podomatic, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can download this podcast, subscribe, pass on to your friends. It's the best free Christmas gift you can give somebody, especially with Christmas being around the corner. Follow me on Twitter, which is Danny, DANNY, 3 Thompson on Twitter, as well as aroundtheassociation.com for everything you need on the NBA side of things. Don't worry, we do have some stuff coming up today, especially about Mo Bamba, Nikola Vucevic, Aaron Gordon's injury, and the Orlando Magic. That should be up right around 11 o'clock Eastern time this morning. So last night, the NBA was a 2-game night in the NBA. National TNT had both games last night on the national TV side of things. So it really was a short, brief night in the NBA, but both games were very, very entertaining and very fun. We'll start with the early game that was out in Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Bucks outlasted the Houston Rockets last night, and the second part of back-to-back for the Bucks last night, the third game of 4 night for the Blazers, 137-129. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 25 points, 19 rebounds with a career-high 15 assists for the Bucks in this game last night. He led the Bucks down last night. Eric Bledsoe had 30 points as well, too. But this game was all about Giannis. You know, it's funny because when you say it's all about Giannis, he does things so differently. You know, being the height he has, being the skill set he has, being the position he plays, for him to knock out 15 assists in the game last night is a career high. The Bucks had 32 assists as a team. He had 15 of them last night. On top of the 15 assists, he only had 5 turnovers. So for a guy that holds the ball that much, you know, he got his teammates involved. The Bucks were 14-27 with him shoot. Was a 14-27 shooting the basketball, something like that, some kind of insane number. 15-29, I think it was, from shooting the basketball last night off his assist last night. They were making shots. They were making plays, and really, this was what the Bucks expected. Now, mind you, the Blazers are playing their third game in 4 nights, and they kept the game close, but it was just too much of the Bucks late in the game. It was the Blazers' third game in 4 nights. There was no Damian Lillard. The Blazers are still reeling. They can't figure out how to get things together. But like I said, this was all about Giannis. He controlled the game. He got his triple-double midway through the third quarter on Dante DiVincenzo jumper. DiVincenzo has 4th straight game in double figures. He had 16. But once he got that pretty much allowed Giannis to do everything else. The 19 rebounds were a game high as well, too. He had 15 defensive rebounds in the game. Giannis just controlled this entire game. Eric Bledsoe, once again, 30 points and 6 assists in the game. Blazers led by CJ McCollum, 37 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, and Scott Levasseur, 22 points and 13 rebounds off the bench for the Blazers. Carmelo Anthony, his second game back in the league, 18.7 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 6 of 15 from the floor, knocked down 3 of 5 from deep, and really, honestly, in his 29 minutes, and he played 29 minutes in a little more of an extended role tonight. He actually played well. The shot seemed to be getting better. He had good looks at the rim last night. It was actually an effective game. You give him credit because among the starters, he had the lowest plus minus of the starters last night. He had a -1 last night. Gary Trent was at 3, but he only played 20 minutes. Melo played pretty well. And I think you see him getting used to things. And the good news for the Blazers is that potentially Damian Lillard will be back by the weekend. Late game last night out in Phoenix. Pelicans got 15 points in the fourth quarter from Brandon Ingram, who finished with 28. Pelicans win 124-121 over the Phoenix Suns. The Pelicans are starting to get healthy. Now remember, this team still hasn't had Zion Williamson back until potentially Christmas, but the Pelicans, who've been hit with so many injuries, which pretty much triggered the slow start, is starting to get healthy. They got Lonzo Ball back in the lineup. He played 20 minutes. We'll get to him in a second. But Brandon Ingram, the story of this game was Brandon Ingram staying aggressive. He had 4 fouls in the fourth quarter and just continued to just look aggressive in the game. 15, like I said, it was 20 in the fourth quarter. JJ Redick knocked down 28 points. The Pelicans now have won their second game in a row. They're now 6th on the season. The big part of this game last night was it was a and one by Ingram. A 3-point game with about a minute 30 left in the game. Ingram's and one gave the Pelicans enough to lead the game. And at that point, it was just pretty much free throws and Pelicans playing really good defense. Suns had a chance with 0.5 of a second left. Couldn't get a 3-point shot off to close the game out the buzzer. Kelly Oubre had 25 points to lead Phoenix. Also, for the Pelicans last night, they got 23 points and 9 assists from Jrue Holiday. Back to Lonzo Ball's first game back after being out for a while. 8 points, 5 assists in 19 minutes. He could tell he's had some rust on him. He shot 3 of 9 from the floor, but he also took 2 of 7 from the 3-point line. The Suns played last night without Aaron Baines and Ricky Rubio. Both of them were out due to injury, so they were shorthanded. Frank Kaminsky drew the start, had 14 points and 5 rebounds in starting in the place of Baines, while Tyler Johnson 6 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 2 of 7 from the floor in the 29 minutes in place of Rubio. So Pelicans will now play Saturday in Utah. In Minnesota will go to Minnesota for an afternoon tilt on Saturday. Hopefully Rubio and Baines will be back in the lineup. Once again, like I said, Baines had the hip flexor missed the second game in a row, and Rubio's back spasms act up, which allowed him to be out as well too. On the Pelican side of things, the injury report for them is that Okafor has a sprained left ankle, will probably be out for a little bit longer. Derek Favors had back spasms and didn't play again last night, and Josh Hart still didn't play because of his sprained ankle as well too. So it's crazy. The Pelicans scored only 14 points in the first quarter, but finished the game with 124. It was a 14 points, 1 point in the fourth quarter. 14-point first quarter to start the game. They dominated for the majority of the bit. Like I said, 124, 121. So before we get into Friday night's games, let's go stud of the night. Of course, you know it's Giannis. 25, 19, and 15. Anytime you put those types of numbers up, it's easy to make himself the stud of the game. Brandon Ingram is honorable mention because he had 28 points for the Pelicans. Friday night's a busy night in the NBA. You know, Friday night is majority, a lot of times it's pretty busy. And we also have a busy weekend. So we'll go over some of the things you're going to see on Friday night's action as well as the weekend. The big game on Friday night, the game I'll be watching, the game that's going to be the most talked about will be 9 o'clock out in Denver. The Celtics road trip continues as they take on the Denver Nuggets. Celtics have been really, they've lost 2 games this road trip. They went in with 1 loss. They lost their last game. They lost to the Clippers on Wednesday night out in LA. They get their hands on the Nuggets, 9 o'clock. The Nuggets had held on and beat the Rockets on Wednesday night as well, too. This should be a good game. Nikola Jokic has to continue his hot play. Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, somebody's going to have to pick up the scoring slack to help out against the Celtics team that's been getting a lot of big contribution from guys like Jaylen Brown. Kemba Walker needs to find his shot after struggling against the Celtics, and Jason Tatum, who came off a huge game against the Clippers. They're going to need all those weapons in a matchup against one of the best teams in the NBA and the Denver Nuggets. Also, the late game on Friday night is also going to be something to watch. Rockets and Clippers. Clippers, like I said, beat the Celtics on Wednesday night. Rockets just came in. This is a back-to-back for them as well, too. They just left Milwaukee. Now they're heading out to the West Coast. This could be, the Rockets play on Wednesday night. Now they're out on the West Coast against the Clippers. This should be an interesting affair. Up and down. James Harden. What will Harden do against Kawhi and Paul George? We saw and Patrick Beverley, we saw what happened when Kemba Walker struggled shooting the basketball. Will that happen to James Harden? Remember, the Rockets just lost to Denver the other night. So we want to see how this is going to turn out. 10:30 Eastern time on ESPN. That will cap the ESPN doubleheader because the first game will be the struggling Spurs against the Ben Simmons 3-point making Sixers. Let's see if Ben Simmons get 2 threes in a row. 2 games in a row with a 3-pointer. That'll be interesting. Spurs have lost 7 games in a row, and the Spurs are sliding, cannot figure out what's going on with them. They got to make some changes somewhere. Derek White hopefully should be back for the Spurs in this one. Other games on Friday night, you got Hawks and Pistons, a lead pass at 7. Hornets and Wizards should be up and down and entertaining affair. Kings and Nets, hopefully Kyrie Irving will be back for this one. The Kings are still surging, playing some really, really good basketball since the month of November has started. Bulls and Heat, Heat are 10-3, a half game behind the Celtics, the best record in the Eastern Conference. That'll be interesting to watch later on tonight. 8 o'clock, Lakers and Thunder. Lakers are on the road now. LeBron James road show, getting those guys involved. Anthony Davis and company going against the Thunder team that had, actually going against LeBron's best buddy, Chris Paul, and the Thunder, who play better at home. Mavericks and Cavs, can Luka do it again? I mean, every time we talk about Luka Doncic, he does something amazing. He's going against the Cavs team. That's backcourt is Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. Doncic should have a field day on this one. Warriors and Jazz at 9. That's the last game on the Friday night schedule. The Warriors were obliterated by that guy named Luka on Wednesday night. Jazz should be playing better at home. We're going to see some interesting effort. Can Mike Conley break out of the shooting slump? I know people don't think it's going to happen. It's going to happen soon. Games to watch over the weekend. The fun games Saturday on the schedule. You're looking at the game to watch on Saturday night. You have NBA TV on for a back-to-back for both teams. Sixers are a home back-to-back. They get the Miami Heat. Both teams are really have some of the best records in the Eastern Conference. The Heat right now are 10-3. The Sixers are 9-5. Hey, if Ben Simmons hits a three, can Ben Simmons hit a three in 3 straight games? We'll see. The Heat, not sure about Justice Winslow return. They're going to need all the help they can get because the Sixers are big, long, and they're athletic. We're not sure about Josh Richardson. Remember, it is a back-to-back for the Sixers. He could be held out, could play one game, be held out of the other game. Other games on Saturday night, that should be fun to watch. You're looking at the Pelicans and Jazz. It's also going to be a late game on Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time game. The Pelicans are streaking. They're starting to get healthy against the Jazz team. Like I said, they're playing a back-to-back as well, too. We'll see how the Jazz can react on a back-to-back. Sunday's action. Mavericks, Rockets, the early game at 3:30. A lot of folks be watching NFL, but you might want to tune into this one. Luka and James Harden. That's all you have to say. Also, the battle for New York, Knicks and Nets. Hopefully, Kyrie Irving back in the lineup playing in Madison Square Garden again against the Knicks team that's just being the New York Knicks. Late game on Sunday, 8 o'clock. Suns Nuggets. The Suns, like I said, are struggling because no Aaron Baines, no Ricky Rubio. Hopefully, they're back in the line because of all the help they can get against the Nuggets. The game that should be very, very entertaining. And also, Clips and Pelicans will close out the weekend schedule Sunday night on NBA League Pass. Clippers, I mean, the Clippers are one of the best teams in the NBA. The Pelicans have been streaking of late. Like I said, they won the last couple games. So, that's your NBA in a weekend. Like I said, check out aroundtheassociation.com. Like I said, we do have an article going up about Mo Bamba in the Orlando Magic's impact. The Magic will play on Saturday without both Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic for an extended period of time. Vucevic is out 4 to 6 weeks. Not sure about Aaron Gordon. The length of time he's out. He's just out indefinitely. The Magic are going to need Mo Bamba and other players to step up, and I'll go into a little bit more detail. Follow me on Twitter at Danny, D-A-N-N-Y, number 3 Thompson on Twitter, as well as subscribe to the Rally Association podcast everywhere podcasts are, Spotify, iHeartRadio, as well as Spreaker, iTunes, everywhere else you can find podcasts. So we'll check you guys out on Monday for Around the Association, the podcast, to catch you back up on the weekend. This is Danny Thompson for AroundTheAssociation.com. We'll check you out later. Peace.